make it even more interesting, bring your mate, Porky. You can bring him from Doncaster, that blowjob for Dennis Hobson, my brother Peter, and bring your mate to film it. You'll get the best of fair play. You know, we'll fight as long as it takes. Forget round. We'll go at it till one man surrenders. And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll shake your hand afterwards and buy you a pint of beer. And for good measure, you can even throw a dumbbell in your training bag. Bring that with you, because I'm it. I'm ready. Let's go now, because you challenged me. If I challenged you, I'd come to your kebab shop in London. If I wanted to fight you as much as you want to fight me, travelling would be no problem. I'm here. I'm ready to fight me, John Fury. Let's go. Stop the talking. Let's have it. Sunday morning in the ring or on the hard road. The choice is yours. Gloves are bare knuckle. I don't care. I'm confident. I've beaten any man 50 plus on the planet. Here I am. I'm ready, fit, been training. I feel good. Let's get it on, and I'll start with you.
Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Porky here, the voice of hardcore boxing. And today I'm joined by my good friend Rico, who founded Porky's Corner with me in 2017. How are you doing, Rico?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Looking forward to netball later.
Netball, yeah. Being the netball commentator. Oh my God, what do you think to it?
I mean, come on, it's the middle of a boxing show. I know you need to push other stuff, but I'm not sure anybody even watches netball on TV.
You know what, mate? I think they're running out of things to say on there now, aren't they?
Well, they say the same things and they're pumping up shows that are pretty crap. I mean, all right, there were competitive matches on this card on Saturday, but if we break it down, we had a European level fight at the top, an English level fight as chief support, and then a load of prospects underneath fighting against people they should beat. Some foreign, some British. Is that any better than the Dennis show a few years ago, or is that any better than some of the Frank Warren shows? It's not really. Is this meant to be what Eddie promised us, that we'd have world title fight regardless of the pandemic?
He said every show, didn't he? Be a world title on.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Top Rank was a similar level show on, they'd be run out of town, wouldn't they?
Oh, Bob Arum couldn't have saved that up at weekend.
This is an MTK show. MTK porn shows like this all the time.
Yeah, I mean, them MTK shows that have been on lately have been as good as Sky's, haven't they, really?
Exactly. Just not the platform and no bean.
Yeah, and no bean. Oh, no beef. Sorry.
No belly tweeting vigorously every 5 minutes.
Let's mention the tweets at the beginning. Rico. What these are grown men, aren't they? These sending tweets like that. What do you think to it?
If we think about any other sport, right? If we think about football. Imagine if Liverpool were playing against Man City and then Harry Kane was constantly tweeting about it, or an ex-Liverpool player was constantly tweeting about it. Like, it's just embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, if you're going to tweet about it, tweet stuff not for the sake of having your name on TV, like like an Instagram influencer. Tweet something that's actually constructive, something that's going to provide some sort of analysis. I don't personally see the value of adding those tweets there. If they're going to add the tweets, at least add fan tweets, at least add, opinions of people outside of the Sky team, not just the Sky cronies. It's like having your mates part of the commentary team, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff from Tony Belly on the tweet.
Yes. Sizzling. Josh Kelly's a precocious talent.
Exactly. What do you think of the tweet?
I kept seeing them pop up on the screen all the time. And in the end, I just put the DAZN one on. Somebody sent me a link to it. I think it was Rob off at Asylum. And I thought, you know what, I might as well just watch this DAZN one. And you know what? I'm not a big Nick Orling fan, but Natasha Jonas comes over really well, doesn't she, on TV?
Yeah, I think she's good. As far as commentators go in general, I think she's one of the best.
She's one of the best. She's very calm, isn't she? She's not frightened. Like, I couldn't imagine Savannah doing it.
No.
She goes red, doesn't she, too much and bursts out laughing. But
even like, regardless of gender, I think she's good and she breaks down a fight well. She tells things as she sees it.
Natasha.
Which has become the benchmark of basically what commentary should be. But now it's like held in high regard if you telling us what you're seeing rather than what you want us to see.
Well, I think that Paul Smith's wasted and doesn't get used enough, mate, and Jamie Moore. But I think Paul Smith's really good at it, breaking down.
He's good.
I think I thought he were good when he was with Adam Smith, but since Adam Smith since last couple of years, he seems to have gone off in some sort of direction, and I don't think there's anything holding him back now. Horse has bolted, hasn't it?
I think it's all about these days who your mates with. Like, get the guy in the commentary that you want to have breakfast with in the bubble, right?
Yeah.
Who's a good laugh. And also, we in a position now where, because they have to be in the bubble, others might be more willing to do it than others. Like, we don't know whether Paul Smith fancies spending his week in the bubble, week after week, to commentate on these average shows. It might not be the case. We'll see once the bubble is over. But they could get him in the studio like they got Conor Benn, right? Conor Benn wasn't in the bubble.
No. Yeah, Conor Benn were there to big the Kelly fight up, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But the bubble burst, didn't it?
Well, didn't Conor Benn say that he saw Avanesian win, though, before the fight?
Yeah, so, but would he be willing to fight Avanesian? I don't think so, do you?
I think Conor Benn's of the mindset that he'll fight anyone, right? It's like ingrained in him with the Nigel Benn stuff. It's more his handlers that might avoid that. I mean, Avanesian's not a killer. Let's not pretend that he's son of this killer, right? He's a Euro level fighter. If Conor Benn, I'd like to see him face while he's fighting against this other guy first. Who is it? This Mexican guy or Spanish guy? I can't remember. But I'd like to see him fight against Josh Kelly next. Winner, after he wins probably. Or then the winner of Chris Congo against Mikey the Problem, Michael McKisson. I'd like to see him face against those, because it's the same thing that I say about the Josh Kelly fight, which is these guys jump from sort of fight against journeyman to the fight that can propel them for world title shots. So there's too much of a gap. They're not having the learning fights.
Yeah, every time you Terry mentioned Chris Congo, I always feel pissed off because
Dennis should have signed him.
Dennis the list, from what me and Terry gave him.
Yeah.
And the detailed whatever how he could sign him, and Chris Congo, David Adelaide. There's just two there, isn't there? I always feel, I don't know, a lot of effort went in. And
well, when this channel blows up and you become a multi-millionaire, maybe we can start our boxing outfit then.
Yeah, we'll have to win Lotto, Rico, eh? Al Heyman did $500 million and he's still not smashing it. Boxing's one of them sports. Boxing's one of them sports where you get your brain shook, your money took, and your name in the Undertaker's book.
Unless you're Don King, of course.
Unless you're Don King or Eduardo. Yeah. I want to ask you about matchmaking, because I'm not happy with some matchmaking that we've had lately. Do you feel that a lot of fighters are trying to skip the levels? You've probably seen the Carl Froch Instagram tweet, Instagram text thing. And he's not the only one. I've just had Crawford Ashley on here today. About an hour ago, and Crawford said that nobody's wanting to. Well, look, he's basically saying fighters can't ride a shot anymore.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a few things to this. One is that fighters are turning over a lot later than before. So you've got guys turning over at 27, 28. So their careers are a lot shorter and they're just trying to cash out. So you're not turning over at 22 and you don't have those 10 to 12 good years at the top. The other thing is, I think it's becoming more of a case, like I said last time, of snakes and ladders, where you're trying to protect your assets and the value of it for as long as possible so that you can cash out and you can, Josh Kelly, if he would have beaten David Avanesian, he would probably be one fight off a world title shot, which he would have lost, right? And that's the way the handlers and the promoters are doing it. And I saw a good tweet this weekend where somebody said something along the lines of, Britain's a small pool for boxing talent. Anybody that's half decent is a match popular. We're hyped in the bubble burst, and I think that's quite true. I was just looking at the list of sort of fighters on Matchroom that have got good records, are highly hyped but haven't fought against anyone. You've got the likes of Felix Cash, Jordan Gill, Martin J. Ward, Joe Cordina, Zach Parker, Ron Richards, Fabian Wardley, Conor Benn, Dalton Smith, Jordan Gill. Oh, I said him already. So, you know, all of these guys are the next Josh Kellys unless they match domestically. They haven't fought against good domestic opponents weight of 50, 55. And they're already pushing them for European level fights or fringe world level fights.
Yeah.
And just in general about the matching, I think there's two things to this. Like, we want to see competitive fights like we had on the main event this weekend. So Kelly Avanesian, that's a good fight, right? Can't knock that. He lost, so we shouldn't throw rocks and say that he was wrong to take that fight specifically. But I think the way how you build to these fights is that Josh Kelly could have faced Conor Benn or Mikey McKissick before facing a guy like Avanesian. And that's the problem, is that you don't have those middle fights where you're actually learning. You're beating all the guys before you face the tough opposition. I mean, Josh Kelly, he was a close fight against Ray Robinson in the US. But after that, they thought, we can't put this guy in a decent fight. We need to just try and get him to a world title shot and get him to make his money.
Do you think that Adam Booth and Richard Towers have seen things in the gym with Josh Kelly and thought that he's ready, but on the night, he's sort of like, he didn't perform after he got caught? I don't know, he looked red hot for 3 rounds, didn't he?
Yeah, he looked like an amateur fighter, didn't he? Good 4 rounds, and then after that, he was breathing with his mouth open. He looked knackered. He was making mistakes. He was relying on the things that have worked before, and because Avanesian wasn't deterred by those things and kept coming forward, he had no answers.
Do you feel that Sorry, go on.
I think the best thing they could do is actually get him decent sparring. You know, take him to the States, take him to, you know, same way how Joe Gallagher took his guys to the wild card to do sparring, take them to places where nobody knows who they are, put them in tough sparring, see how they cope. It's one thing bashing up kids that your mates with, or, you know, kids that have respect for you across the UK, they'll send there. It's another thing going to somewhere like the wild card and fighting against unknown Mexicans that don't care who you are.
Yeah. Do you feel that I lost my train of thought now. Do you feel that this British title that fighters are not going for, do you think that's having an effect on them down the line? They're not learning the craft, are they?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily the British title. I think it's more just a case of having those competitive domestic matchups. So before this, I was just looking at some fights that could be made. So you've got Zach Parker against Ron Richards. That's a matchroom fight. Wardley against Cash Ali. That could be made easily. Conor Benn, Josh Kelly, Dalton Smith, Harlem Eubank, Jordan Gill, Isaac Lowe, Cordina against Alpha Barrett. Even if it's not for a British title, at least put them in in-house fights that are tough. You see that being done by Top Rank all the time, where they put guys that are 10-0 against each other. Even Golden Boy do that. They put sort of guys with tough opposition to see who's the best of those two, and they move forward, and the other one learns their craft.
Yeah. What did you think to Jordan Gill on the night? I mean, Dave Caldwell was speaking about his opponent like he was some roadman killer, wasn't he?
I mean, look, Jordan Gill's meant to beat this guy. He performed as he was meant to. I can't take much out of these type of performances, can I? Like, what do we take of? What can we take of a guy that's, why is Jordan Gill like 20-0 or something like that? 22-0?
Oh, he's more than that, 27-1, isn't he?
Yeah. What can we take about a guy that's 27-1? Yeah, he lost to a Mexican guy, didn't he? What can we take about a guy that's 27-1 beating somebody that they meant to beat easily according to the bookers?
And losses.
Yeah.
Do you feel
that he stepped up?
Do you feel that Dave Caldwell will be judged for his whole career with what he does with Hopi Price and Jordan Gill, because he's had a lot of champions go to his gym and go on and earn good, decent money, but he's got kids from scratch here, hasn't he, with Gill and...
Yeah, to an extent, I think. Well, it depends how long his career is, right? And some onus needs to be on the fighter as well. I mean, if they don't perform on the nights, there's only so much the trainer can fix. But I think if you look at the best trainers in this country, whether we like it or not, Adam Booth's one of them. We know Adam Booth for what he's done with David Hay, what he's done with George Groves to an extent, what he's done with a number of other guys. Whereas Dave Caldwell, where's his case study?
What do you mean?
As in, where's the guy that he's taken from zero to...
He hasn't done it. He can't be.
Yeah.
Fowler, he had Fowler, didn't he, from zero? He's gone, and he left him, hasn't he?
Yeah. But also, it's some fighters, you think about guys like Freddie Roach. He's mainly known from Manny Pacquiao, wasn't he? But now we look at Freddie Roach as a guy that's a finisher, who's a guy that you go to after you've trained with another guy for 15, 20 fights, and he hones your style. Like Freddie Roach doesn't take guys from 0 to 100, but he's earned the right to do that through the work he's done with Pacquiao and a few others.
Yeah, it's a tough one, that. But what do you think about Opie Price, or do you think it's too early to judge him at 4-0?
Early to say, a lot of these guys look spectacular 4-0 or 3-0. Then they get to a higher level. It's all, can you develop from bashing up people that you meant to beat by comprehensively beating them? So I remember when I was watching somebody like Callum Smith. He looked spectacular early in his fights, and then he fought against George Groves, and most people had him losing that fight. Demolished George Groves, although George Groves wasn't the same fighter as before, and he had a few patchy performances, like against that kickboxer in the World Boxing Super Series, the Dutch guy was a late replacement. But he sort of continued on that trajectory. Then he faced Canelo. He got comprehensively beat. And then we sort of know his level is where it is. But up until that level, he proved himself, he proved everybody wrong. So he just kept on that sort of trajectory. It's the same with Carl Froch, isn't it? People didn't expect him to beat Pascal, but he did. And then he kept on that trajectory.
Well, Carl Froch, before he fought Pascal, he told me personally that he always wanted tough fights. And I said, why? He said, well, why do I need to do... He used to do 2 weeks on his own and then 12 weeks with Rob. So he's as a 14-week camp. And then he'd have a bit of time off. And then when he got a date again, he'd always do that 2 weeks on his own. He had his own routine that he used to log everything. And he said, I don't see point, Porky, in me doing 14-week training and just having some guy who I can just blow away. He didn't feel that he were getting the most out of it doing that, because you're putting your body through all that, aren't you? So you feel like you want to be in a proper fight and then earn proper dough as well. And, it'd be for title fights. He never did, not once did he do these intercontinentals or these, these minor belts, bling belts. He never did any of that. He was basically old school, wasn't he?
And there's also a finite amount that anybody's body can take of boxing, right? Like the camps take their toll. I think it was Bernard Hopkins that said, even if you blow out a guy in 10 seconds, your body's still gone through the camp, gone through the sparring, gone through everything else. So, you can't do 40, 50 camps. Even if you blow everybody away in the first round, there comes a point where your body just has enough.
And that's why fighters cut corners in camp towards the end of their careers, because they're getting the bodies they're knackered, aren't they?
Yeah, part of it's not also about cutting corners. It's about adapting, isn't it? Like you can't do the same thing that you were doing 5-6 years ago. And sometimes you learn to improve. So I remember what Carl Frampton, when he said he was sparring like 200 rounds before the Santa Cruz fight. And you just think that's madness. Like it's just absolute madness.
Yeah. All right then. So Jordan Gill against Josh Whale. Do you think that's a good fight? Warrington against Josh Whale?
I think Jordan Gill more so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Whale's a good fighter. I think Warrington probably needs that rematch. or he needs to be fighting at that level. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight against somebody that's sort of fringe world level again. But I think Josh Whale is a good fight for Jordan Gill. That's a good test for him.
Yeah, what about... I don't want to sound like I'm a conspiracy theory guy here, Rico.
Well, you are.
But,
you and Terry are the two worst conspiracy theorists I know.
They're the David Icke boxing, aren't we?
Yeah.
I just, Anthony Joshua and ringing up Josh Warrington, and then Sky pouring it all over, plastering it all over their platforms and IFL and Matchroom Boxing and all that. I just feel that I don't think the Fury fight's going to happen now. I've heard a couple of things that it's not even close, and they've spun that many lies now. They've got to keep the lie going, haven't they? They can't shut it down, can they? Do you know what I mean?
I think they need to come up with a good excuse why it doesn't happen and effectively say it's something mutual. It's not one side or the other, because they probably want to do that fight at some point and they don't want to create a feud. So they need to come up with a plan to get both guys active, to say, actually, we don't want to keep these guys out the ring. It's a big negotiation. Both of them will take an easy fight, or Fury still has obligations with Wilder, so we park him for now, or something like that.
Yeah. All right then.
But you had an idea around why they ran
the Chinaman.
Kanzu
for Warrington. The guy that Joshua beat in Olympics, Schilling or something, or
whatever his name is. The guy, the very tall guy, the Chinese guy, very tall.
7 foot guy who can't fight. Yeah, he'd be ideal for Joshua. One is somebody who's already beat. And the Korean girl, she's connected to somebody through Kanzu's team, Erin Terry Harper. This is just chit chat that I've heard of people and people in the know and saying, look, Eddie will have a plan B, and they're saying they're looking at China. They've got some contacts out there. I think they've done pool and snooker out there for years, haven't they? So I won't put it past them doing something out there, to be honest. I won't put it past it.
He's ranked in the WBO, this Zhang guy. He's ranked in there. He's also ranked in the IBF. So, yeah, they could make that. It could be a voluntary fight. WBO, if you have Joyce and Usyk fighting for the interim title, you could easily make that Zhang fight.
Now, what I think is going to happen is if you don't fight Joshua next, I think the fans will turn on them, and Eddie Hearn will have to come out and he'll play the blame game. So Fury wants a tune-up fight. He's been out this long and blah, blah, blah. But I've also been told, and I can't reveal who, but there's a lot of legal stuff going on behind the scenes, really serious legal stuff, and it's going on every day, back and forward. And I've heard there's a lot of frustration from Joshua's camp and Fury's camp about the legal issues and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. Eddie's in a tight spot here because they shot the mouths off, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, they did it to cover up other things. But when you have Top Rank, Queensberry, BT, Sky, on top of that, you have Heyman, Shelley Finkel, Wilder, what they sort of claim that Fury owes a rematch. You're in quite a tight spot. I mean, it's hard to find something where everybody can compromise. And then you add the US broadcasters on top of that, DAZN, ESPN. So you've got 4 broadcasters, 3 sets of promoters, 3 teams involved. It's not
everybody wants to get fed, don't they?
Yeah, everybody wants to make money. This is the cash house section of the careers.
Yeah, but do you feel that it's now dragging on a bit, and if it doesn't happen this year, it'll never happen?
No, I still think it will happen. Maybe next year, the year after, but they're not going to do it without fans. Hopefully, they do it in the UK, but they might find a more lucrative offer. The problem with getting fans at the moment is in the US.
Yeah.
Like Vegas is dead. You can't do fights in Vegas. Nobody's traveling there. So there's not really a natural venue unless you can do it in the Middle East or China or somewhere. And then you need to account for the fact of quarantines, certain team members coming over, production teams, the media of the world. So it just makes things a lot harder at the moment.
All right, then. We'll come back onto some other stuff regarding fights in a minute, but it's been brought to my attention that Frank Warren, and nobody's reporting on this, nobody's talking about it hardly. Frank Warren's got some financial issues, or Queensbury have.
Yes. So I think there was a tweet last week, and anybody can check on Company's House.
Chris Williamson said.
Yeah, Queensbury Boxing or Promotions, you can check that on Company's House. So they published accounts for year ended March 2020. So that means it was sort of before the pandemic.
Yeah.
In total, they owed £14 million to creditors, which was a 7 million increase from last year. The net liabilities were about 10 million because they owed 4 million from other parties, whether that's promotional contracts that have been severed. But they did turn a profit of 2.2 million. So I think the kind of takeaway for that is that Warren can't bankroll big bouts on his own. And they're not hugely liquid. So that means that they can't go and sign these big fighters by offering them checks in advance. So, you know, it's a bit of a financial position that they're in, is where they're in a tight spot. But I think with Frank Warren, if anybody can find the money and get it together post Live, it's probably Frank Warren still.
Do you think that Frank will bail out? Is it because if he loses the BT Sport thing, where does he go for TV?
Well, Queensbury, I don't think Frank is actually the owner of Queensbury. It's George and Francis. So he's obviously not involved in the company because I think he declared himself bankrupt once. So they can obviously write off all of their debts by declaring bankruptcy, and then they can set up a new promotional outfit, which will probably allow fighters to leave if they want to leave. If he leaves BT, it's sort of a domino effect, isn't it? What happens with Eddie Hearn, Sky Sports, and DAZN has an impact on what Sky does on boxing, and if there's a spot on DAZN and what DAZN want to do. If Eddie doesn't make an exclusive deal with DAZN, I can see Frank Warren trying to get into DAZN in the UK at the very least.
Yeah?
Yeah, why not?
He's a boxing man, Frank, though. We have to give him credit, don't we?
Yeah, and he's
We don't
built
see
most
these
of the
guys
good
getting
fighters
flogged,
in
do
this
we?
country. Yeah.
I mean, Eddie's brutal, isn't he? Some of the guys he's sent to meat market in the last few years been shocking, hasn't it?
Yeah, Frank has some good young fighters, so that's the thing. By sort of, are BT willing to wait out to see what happens with these guys, or do they want a quick win?
Well, we wish Frank Warren well, don't we, in his boxing career, because he's been going long enough, hasn't he? 41 years.
Yeah, and the other accounts that were released were Team AJ's accounts, Spartan Promotions Limited, which anybody can check on Company's House.
Yeah.
Which is Anthony Joshua's boxing entity. So these were the accounts for February 2020 was the date when they cut off. So that includes 1 year period. That includes Rees 1 and 2. What did we learn? His sponsorship is down 6.5 million from 8.5. So actually, for somebody that they make out to be such a big commercial asset as Anthony Joshua, he only gets 6.5 million sponsorship a year, which is a lot of money to you and I. But considering how they talk about him as the most recognizable sporting star in the UK, globally they make 6.5 million. It's not that impressive.
Michael Jordan does $500 million a year in just off trainers, doesn't he?
Exactly. The other thing we learned is for the two Rees bouts, he made a combined 57 million of money. And profits for that were 46 million, so that's 23 million per bout. So 23 million for both fights. It's a lot of money, but you know, they're talking about him again and making money like Floyd Mayweather and other guys. So the money that Pacquiao and the others make is probably a bit more. And the year before, when he fought in the UK against Parker and Povetkin, he made 51 million. So I think the money that we're talking about making Fury against Joshua, £100 million fight, I'm not sure the money's as big as we've been told.
Do Do you think that they've used Eddie Hearn as a mouthpiece to hype Joshua up as this superstar, but he's not really as big as what they're making out?
Yeah, I mean, look, boxing isn't a big enough sport. That's the reality. I mean, making 57 million for 2 fights is pretty incredible, but it's nowhere near what Mike Tyson was making, or some of even Holyfield or some of these other guys, Lennox Lewis. Nowhere near that money, is it?
No, in the Daily Mirror have got Joshua wrong. Then they said it were 100 million, didn't they?
Well, it's no chance. I mean, he made 57 million for the 2 bouts, so that's yeah. I imagine that money comes to Joshua, and then he pays expenses. So that's what expenses, which in this case were about 20%.
Jesus. All right then. Did you see the Oscar Valdez knockout?
Oh, that was incredible, wasn't it? I thought Oscar Valdez was washed up and done after.
Animal fought quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he beat Scott Quigg, didn't he, in a decent-ish fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that was when Quigg was with Freddie Roach and he just came forward with his chin out, just throwing lots of punches. But yeah, it was a spectacular knockout.
Did you
He
see Tom
Frampton, didn't he, Oscar Valdez?
Yeah. Did you see Tom Aspinall's fight? UFC?
No, I'm not a UFC guy.
Well done to Tom Aspinall. Did you see Otto Wallin Brazil fight?
I did.
You did?
Yeah. Well, I saw the highlights.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? I think Otto Wallin is probably better than we gave him credit for, or Brazil is worse than we gave him credit for, one or the other. But I think Otto Wallin's a sort of durable guy that is a good opponent. He's only 30 years old, so he'd be a good opponent for somebody like Dillian Whyte potentially after this Povetkin fight, regardless of what happens. Or maybe some of these other fringe heavyweight contenders. If he fought against somebody like Hughie Fury, that would be a good fight. Maybe the winner gets a world title shot.
Yeah. What about Dillian Whyte in Gibraltar? What do you think to all that, Rico? Where do you stand on that?
Well, I think when you're out of the UK for a certain number of days, you have to pay tax to the UK taxman when you come here. So I think that's one of the reasons it's happening there. Yeah. I don't think it's to do with the quarantine stuff, because that can be worked out. I think it's more for tax reasons, if anything else. I don't know. It doesn't really matter where these fights are. But I wonder is that under the British Board of Control?
Is what?
Gibraltar. Can they get British refs and judges?
I would have thought they would. Yeah. I would have thought they would. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of sense that it's to do with tax reasons more than anything else.
Yeah. They're saying it's because of pandemic, aren't they? They want crowds.
Yeah. It's also because they were saying that he would have to come to the UK, quarantine, self-isolate, and so forth and so forth. But surely this didn't dawn on them last week, did it?
I don't know what to make of it all, to be honest. I personally, I'm a bit sceptical about things. I don't think Dillian Whyte wants to fight him myself. He didn't want to fight Joshua because he knew what happened first time, and I think that he's a bit worried that something's going to happen if he fights Povetkin again, because he got iced last time really bad. Knockout a year for me, and I just think that same thing will happen again, because what could Dillian Whyte have done to make him a better fighter since last August? I don't know.
I don't know, but I think he was on top of Povetkin, and I thought before the fight that he'll win, so I think he'll win this time. Povetkin's older again. How old is he? 43?
He's 42 in September.
Exactly. So he's 42. I think White's probably too fresh for him now, but it doesn't tell me much whatever happens. So that's for WBC interim heavyweight title.
Yeah, that don't mean anything really. It's a trinket belt. Dillian Whyte's on his 6th pay-per-view. I know it's a boring old story, but he's got a vacant British at home. He beat Ian Lewinson for it. He's not even fought for a European yet or a world. And I just feel that he's been used as a blocker, a bit like Ortiz and Usyk, to protect.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's also, if they're having in Gibraltar, it's not a fight that people are desperate to see. I don't really know why it needs to be on pay-per-view. So they're giving us European titles, non-pay-per-view, and now a fringe world title for bout is for pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Dillian Whyte isn't that big of a name against the Russian that he's fighting in Gibraltar that needs to be on pay-per-view. Have they told us how much it is? 20 or 25 quid?
I think it's £20, Dillian Whyte's.
So how much money would have we spent over the last year just getting Dillian Whyte on pay-per-view?
It's 120 quid, isn't it, Dillian Whyte? 6 pay-per-views.
Christ.
And he's not fought for the European title.
That's a lot.
He's done all right hard at job, hasn't he?
But he's a good example of a fighter that has taken the easy route and made as much money as possible.
He talks legacy, but it's really about money for him.
Of course it is. I mean, he could have accepted the Joshua fight, right?
All right, then I'll just ask you. I'm going to throw some names at you now and ask you what next for them, and just tell me what you're thinking. In about 20 seconds each one. Yui Fury, what next?
Hopefully, I'd like to see him fight against Otto Wallin.
Yeah, I would.
I think that will be a good fight. I think the winner of that is a worthy world title fighter. So yeah, Otto Wallin.
Tyson Fury next.
I think he'll fight against an Easy Touch or Wilder.
Oh, Wilder, yeah. Billy Joe Saunders.
I think he'll face Canelo next.
Do you?
Yeah.
All
I think after this Yildirim fight, it's probably already a done deal.
Anthony Yard.
I'd like to see him fight against Lyndon Arthur again, or Callum Johnson.
What do you think to Callum Johnson going to Bricktop?
Brilliant news. We get to see an exciting fighter fighting regularly in a division that's exciting. And Frank Warren has good fighters in that division. So actually, Lyndon Arthur against Callum Johnson makes perfect sense.
What do you think will happen with the rest of Joe Gallagher's stable? There's obviously him and Eddie Earn are not as close as they were. Do you feel that Joe's been discarded like rubbish by Eddie and Sky? And do you think these fighters have been treated with some disrespect?
I think the fighters certainly have. If you think about the fact that Eddie clamored to sign these guys like Beefy Smith, Stephen Smith, and then he's not giving them dates. I'm just going to repeat Terry's point, which is that they sort of at that mid-level where they either need to be headlining fights or headlining cards and making decent money. They can't be supporting, but I'd like to see Beefy Smith headlining a card against maybe Kell Brook or someone else. That would be a decent fight. Like that would be a good Saturday fight night.
What next? What next for Callum Smith?
175, they're saying. Eddie Hearn said it the other day. I think it's sort of get him at that European level, see how he feels at that weight, maybe a couple of fights, and then go for a world title.
Blake Caballero would be a good fight for him, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that will be a good fight. Just trying to think. A lot of the good British guys are over on the other side of the road.
I think Blake Caballero's got a fight due on him though, any week now.
Yeah, let me see. Well, he hasn't fought for a while. There is no fight, but
and he got one due for some belt in Australia or something.
I can't see. But again, like Callum Smith against Bivol will be a good fight. I also like to see Callum Smith against Joe Smith Jr. Let him fight against Callum Smith, fight against someone lower down the rankings, and then let him fight against Joe Smith Jr. or Bivol.
What do you think about Chris Eubank Jr.? Where do you think he goes now? Is he too inactive, Rico?
Way too inactive. I mean, I'm a fan of his. That shows what casual I am, but I've seen him fight live quite a few times. But it doesn't seem like his career's really going anyway, is it? Like he beat Kobarov on that weird decision where Kobarov injured himself. And then since then, he's been talking about how Al Heyman's going to get him on cards. And now he's signed with Sauerland and they must have a plan for him, but they don't have many fighters. So I don't really know what's going to happen. Sauerland have done this thing, haven't they, where they've signed British fighters like Chisora, like Groves, now Eubank Jr. They get them a few fights and then it sort of goes quiet.
What next for Derek Chisora?
Wait for the next big money fight.
Yeah.
I don't know what that fight is, but I could see him face against Joe Parker versus, this Junior Farr winner. I think that might be a fight where they might get him in.
What do you think about Yui Fury against Derek Chisora? Do you think that's a pay-per-view fight?
If we think Chisora's a pay-per-view fighter, yes, was a decent undercut. I mean, I don't like the idea of Chisora being a pay-per-view fighter, so I'd say no. But if that's the standard of pay-per-view fights, I'd rather see Hugh Fury against Chisora than Parker against Chisora on a pay-per-view. Like I'd rather always have two Bretts than have sort of New Zealander versus a Brett on a pay-per-view when it doesn't lead to a world title fight or it's not a world title fight.
Yeah. Do you think that John Fury will fight Mickey Theo?
No.
No, why not?
I mean, it's been all talk for a while, hasn't it? I mean, he's gone quiet, so no.
All right. Do you think I'm wasting my time trying to get the fight on for Mick? Well, Mick get it on.
You get along with Mickey, so he seems like a good guy. So why not keep baiting John? I mean, John needs to come out at some point
And say something.
Well, exactly. It's like me saying that I'm willing to face any man at cruiserweight in the world and shouting my mouth off, and then you have somebody call you out, and then you just suddenly say nothing about it.
Yeah, it's a bit strange, isn't it? Where do you see Savannah going next? Savannah Marshall. I know she's out in April, isn't she? But do you think that her and Clarissa Shields will ever get it on?
I don't think they will. I don't think Clarissa Shields likes the idea of the fight, and also isn't she doing mixed martial arts, but then she's doing boxing. I don't think Eddie's gonna. It's really down to Eddie, right? If Eddie wants to make that fight, he'd just throw enough money at it.
Do you think
that's all he has to do?
Fight against Ryan Garcia.
Sorry?
I think Devin Haney's a good fight against Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, excellent fight. Again, another fight that could be made. I mean, people always moan about the fact that boxers aren't fighting against guys from other stables, but these boxers aren't fighting against guys on the other net or on the same network or on the same stable. These fights aren't made, so.
Yeah. Where do you see Bob Arum in 5 years?
Smoking weed somewhere, as he always does. I mean, Bob's one of these people that's never going to die. He'll be puffing somewhere and talking boxing and slagging off British boxers and promoters.
I heard a story the other day about Bob Arum, and it involves a cone, like an ice cream cone, some joint that he rolls himself. He's a better joint roller than me.
Well, you see, he always talks about how he's smoking weed, Bob Arum.
I heard that Billy Joe Saunders story that's doing rounds, that they were over at Vegas and he went to see De La Hoya, wanted to speak to him, so going up to this suite. He's walked in and De La Hoya's there with biggest bifty you've ever seen in your life. Billy, you can imagine, can't you? Because Billy's quite dry and he just says he's got no filter, has he? It's a bit like myself. And he says he's sat there smoking a bifter in front of me. He says, how can I take him seriously? He's got all this haze of smoke. And
he's like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre in the music videos from Dre 2001 where they smoke it and the thick smoke comes out.
there's some legendary De La Hoya stories doing rounds at the moment. What he's been up to lately. I mean, I'm not even going to repeat some of them, but he's obviously got some issues, hasn't he? And he's married to a beautiful lady. And
he's lived a good life. That's all I'm going to say about
that.
that.
He parks his son up in an hotel for 4 and 5 days on his own and just does what he wants. So, what do you think next for John Ryder?
Isn't he meant to be fighting against, or there was rumours that he'd be fighting against like a fringe contender or somebody on a US
I heard
card?
that, but it's all gone quiet, hasn't it? The hype around it.
Yeah, it's a real shame because, you know, he fought so well against Callum Smith. So it's a real shame that these guys aren't being rewarded for fighting well. I've always thought that he's too small at the weight, but I'd love to see him fight against Zach Parker or Leron Richards. Maybe Leron's below that level, but Zach Parker's, you know, he's like number 1 or number 2 ranked by one of the governing bodies. So I think that will be a good fight for him. Another like all British fight.
Yeah. What about Povetkin knocking the Bivol fight back? They've offered it Craig Richards, haven't they?
Povetkin, I don't really know what the plan is. It's like somebody doesn't have faith in Povetkin.
Yeah.
Somebody's team, they don't have faith in him. I don't think it's necessarily matchroom or.
They obviously have a lot of faith in him because he's on 160 grand a fight. Why is that? And he doesn't sell a ticket. I don't get it, do you? He's not a big draw.
Keeping AJ happy, isn't he?
You think that's what it is? Keeping Joshua happy.
Keeping Joshua happy, isn't it? You know, if you take care of his guys, they talk highly about Sky and the Bean Masons. So you're taking care of your own platform and your own asset.
What do you see happening with the Bean Masons? Do you think it'll all get broke up if Sky fold with boxing?
Of course it will. I mean, they boxing guys, aren't they? And none of them are on contracts apart from Adam and maybe Johnny and Anna Woolhouse. Anna Woolhouse will go and cover netball. Beam will go and cover the darts, and Johnny will write the occasional boxing thing, or maybe he'll do something else. Maybe he's not on contract.
You think Johnny Nelson will sign on Dole?
No, he'll do. Doesn't he have this thing with Spence Oliver where they do their thing?
Started.
Then he's always on my Instagram on the turmeric thing where he's selling these turmeric drinks, trying to get people to drink turmeric juice or whatever it is.
Jesus. What do you think would be the best fight outside of Canelo Saunders, Joshua Fury? What's the biggest fight that we could have in Britain, if held in Britain, without Joshua or Billy Joe in it?
I don't know, to be honest. I'd probably say...
I'll rephrase the question. Where's Eddie Hearn's next pay-per-view star after Joshua?
So, well, interesting enough, I was looking at this. So, you look at the BoxRec top 50 for British fighters. We have in the top 15, we have 14 guys that are 30 and over. We have 25, so half of the guys are 30 and over. The only guys that are 26 and under, so sort of the young to mid-level fighters who could become the next pay-per-view stars. You've got Isaac Dogboe, Q Fury, Dubois, Conor Benn, Cheeseman, Denzel Bentley, Lee McGregor, and Zach Parker and Mikey the Problem. None of those guys scream pay-per-view star at the moment. Q is obviously he's in a weight class where if you become good enough, you can become a pay-per-view star. Conor Benn, they might try and push, but 147 is a very tough division to become a star in and actually compete at top level. So I think that's generally a problem with British boxing, not just Eddie, but everybody else. There's none of that talent coming through. Like all the best guys are in their 30s. So when you remove the younger guys, you've got Josh Taylor who's a pay-per-view star. That's about it. Like who's the next pay-per-view star that you can look and say this guy's going to be a pay-per-view star? I mean, Buat's in his late 20s, early 30s, kind of in a couple of years. So There's nobody really, is there?
No. There ain't, mate. It's I think Eddie could be heading for Skid Row. This is why we see a lot of recycled rubbish, don't we, at the moment?
Yeah.
But Tony Bellew, as name's been passed around in last couple of days by people in the know, and people are saying that he will come back for the right money and the right opponent. If so, what opponent would he want to come back for? Would it be for money or legacy?
I mean, he'd come back for money, wouldn't he? I mean, that's a given. He doesn't need the legacy, right? I think he'd come back a heavyweight. I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Bellew Chisora happened on pay-per-view. Friends turned enemies.
Chisora, the mates, aren't they?
Yeah, but friends turned enemies, right? Everything needs to be a story.
Yeah, the narrative that they'd push.
Yeah, exactly. You could have that fight, right?
All right.
He's not going to come back anything else apart from heavyweight, is he?
No. Again. What do you think is going to happen with Usyk Joyce? Do you think that fight happens?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it will, but it's just the problem is on what platform. But it makes sense for AJ, so they will let it happen, right?
All right.
It's more important to protect AJ than to keep Usyk on the Sky platform.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that one with WBO and Usyk and Joyce. What do you think about Daniel Dubois, Rico? With Mark Tibbs?
Yeah, you know what? I think probably a good move. I mean, I can't tell you who's a good trainer and who isn't, apart from what I see on TV. Mark Tibbs has been around for a long time. He's worked with some great fighters. He's improved. He's talking about 0 to 100. His case study is Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, it's Billy and Mark. It's Mark and Jeremy, right?
Jimmy, yeah.
But Billy's his case study, isn't it? So I think it makes sense. Dubois clearly doesn't want to leave where he lives, and he doesn't have to do that. I think Dubois is a young fighter. There's no point in writing him off. He took a tough matchup early in his career. So why not give him a few years to develop? And I think that will just improve him. Mark's a good trainer, and he'll also find a lot of good sparring through Mark. You can hook him up with Hugh Fury one day again.
When are you going to get your haircut, Rico? You're starting to look like Malcolm X.
Well, as you saw, the barber's only going to open in April, so a bit of time until that, May. Not going to cut my own hair.
You'll have a Spencer X afro by the time you get to April, Rico, at this rate, won't you?
What will be, will be. I mean, look. I mean, not everybody can have the porky haircut.
What do you think about all this with MTK and all that? Do you think it'll die down eventually and they'll move on to somebody else than the media?
People are bored of it already, aren't they? Nothing's going to happen.
I mean, I've had a bit of sticking emails and that, people saying you don't know what goes on in Dublin and this and that, and I probably don't.
We don't know, do we? And also, it's like, if the Irish government can't do anything about it, or can't make the British government do anything about it, it's not your place.
It's a law enforcement issue, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not like boxing media's job to start hounding the promotional company out of the sport if you can't even catch the guy that is allegedly, running a drug gang across Europe. If he's allegedly doing that, it's not your job to call them out if the police and nobody else is doing anything.
Yeah. Do you feel that Sonny Edwards wins the world title this year, or do you think that Frank Warren's lost interest in him?
I mean, let's hope not, but I don't know. I mean, put him against a tough Mexican or somebody else, and let's see how tough he is then. I mean, he's constantly talking on Twitter about how he's going to beat some guy up that send a DM to his girlfriend, or how tough he is. And he's become more of a, I think I said it to Terry today in a voice note, I think he effectively wants to be Logan Paul, social media first, boxing second.
Do you feel that a lot of fighters are like that now? They want to get themselves out there and they're forgetting the fundamentals about learning your craft?
Yeah, I mean, hard to say, right? Because they train a lot. You know, you train 2-3 times a day, but we don't know what they do with the other time. But a lot of fighters are of that generation. I mean, Sonny's a young kid, right? So he's of that generation where everything's social media first, and they live their life through vicariously chasing for likes and other people's recognition. I mean, most boxers are quite insecure, and I'm sure Sonny's as well. And, you know, getting one over somebody on social media or same post that people like probably boost up his self-confidence.
Yeah. If you could sit here now with the Rico, obviously, what are you now, 29?
I wish. Add 4 years to that, mate.
33 then. So if you could sit here with the 16-year-old Rico now, what would you say to him?
Probably I'd say, just say be yourself, right? Isn't that the thing that we learn in life the older we get? Just to be ourselves and be comfortable with, not try and impress other people. It's impossible not to care what other people think about you, but at the end of the day, I mean, the less you do, the less you care about what other people think about you, the happier you are within yourself, and also the more you can just focus on what you do. Everybody has a different trajectory in life, and everybody goes through a different road. But if you know who you are, and you're comfortable with who you are, and you try and do the right thing, you probably end up all right in life.
Yeah, do you know, obviously you grew up in Finland, didn't you? What made you want to come to England? It's a different language, isn't it, and that?
Yeah, I mean, I was always brought up bilingual, so I always spoke English and Finnish. So I always spoke 2 languages. I think there was always this thing about coming to the bigger world. So in Finland, growing up, you always see a lot of US TV, and I lived in a city where there's 200,000 people. So you always think about, like, the big city was Helsinki, which has about 1 million people. So always think about, like, what it's like in the bigger world and the opportunities there. And then you sort of make the plunge. So after the army, which we have to do in Finland, I sort of took the plunge and I said, I'm going to come and study in the UK. Came to study in the UK. And once you're in the bigger wide world, you kind of can't look back at the place where you're from and kind of think, oh, I want to go back there to a smaller world, at least for some people. For me, it was like, once you get caught into the idea of living in London and your mates from university go and live there, you go and live in London. So how can you go back to somewhere which is a lot smaller, where everybody knows everybody and so forth?
Yeah. Do you know when you said you were in army in Finland, Rico?
Yes,
how long is that national service?
Yes, it's national service.
Does everybody have to do it?
Yes.
Even people like
not women, but everybody else, yes.
John Arne Reeser and Jari Littman, will they have to do it?
Yeah, so footballers in Finland, they have to do, but they'll try and do it as early as possible. And also they'll do a thing where they'll go to the Air Force or somewhere like that. And then they can so they'll go to a base near the club where they play whatever the sport is, if you play ice hockey or football. And then in the evenings, they'll figure a way that you can do your training, and you're still in the army, but you're not actually you might do your basic training, but you're not actually doing a lot of the stuff that everybody else has to do.
Yeah, it's and how long did you have to do that for?
Well, I did 6 months. You do 6 or 12, so depending on whether you want to be an officer, but I just wanted to do as quick as possible. But I thought it was quite good, but I think it had its benefits, but it's also a hindrance in the sense that you just turn 18, you can drink, you can drive a car and everything else, and then you're sort of told that you need to go to the army and all this discipline.
It's a shock for you, Rico, too. Did they give you a big Doc Martens and make you run around carrying your bed pack?
Well, yeah, exactly. You carry one of these big rucksacks, and obviously you do it in the wintertime in Finland, so we're like camping in the cold, and it was like -20, and you'd be camping for a week outside.
Oh, what do you think to that, Rico?
Awful, but it's character building. Back then, like, the mobile phones were crap, so you couldn't be just on your phone or anything, because the only thing you do is send text messages. So you just sitting in the middle of the forest with your own thoughts.
I remember when I was 16 and my first job and that, and I remember pedalling on me. I had a Rally Superburn. I was pedalling up at Brickyard from Edlington to Cunningsborough, and it was freezing. I was frozen. It was about 6:30 in the morning, £27.30, and I thought to myself, that was wage then in mid 80s, and I thought, I've got another 50 years of this past. I'll never forget. Who'd have thought a bike I had from age of about, I don't know, 13, that I'd end up pumping tyres on it and ended up going to work on it, a Rally Superburn and BMX. Well, I was saving up for a Ford Escort at the time, like, and, for when you get to be old enough to drive and that.
But we had in the
army. I didn't have army to do though, so.
By the army, when you go off for the weekend, like you go off most weekends, sometimes you did 2 or 3 weekends back to back. When you got off at 5:30, open the gate, somebody drives, and you drive as quick as you can to your hometown. Because you had you get allocated to different bases, so you know a few people that got allocated to your base. They might be in different units, but you know that, and they were there. You drive back as quick as you can. You'd go home, you'd drop your army gear off because you don't want to be caught drinking in your army gear or misbehaving, because then you might get sanctioned by the army. You change and you go straight drinking Friday, Saturday, Sunday, big hangover, back to the army, and there you go, off for another week.
God, so you went home every weekend then?
Some weekends, but not every, but you'd say every other weekend roughly. But on Wednesdays we got evening leave. And there used to be this town near where our army base was, and they used to have this place that had like a strip club, and you could buy cheap drinks there, and people would go there, and it would be crowded on Wednesday evening. So you'd get off at 6, and you'd have to be back at the base at 10. People would be crowded in this little strip club, drinking the beer, and people would be drinking as much as they could in that 4-hour space and watch girls dancing.
And has Terry done any army service or like that? No. Oh, he's from Zimbabwe, isn't he?
No, I don't think he has. You need to ask him.
Did you know when you came over to England? Had you already done university in Finland and that then, or college?
No, I did it here. So I did my sort of A-level equivalent in Finland. Then I went to the army and came here.
And then came to London.
Well, I studied in York, so I lived in York for 3 years.
Oh yeah, it's not far from me. That.
No, nice place.
What did you think? Did you go in Leaf and Lettuce at York on Bridge?
I did.
What do you think?
Yeah.
All right.
I liked York. It was a nice town, and obviously when the floods come up, some of the pubs like the Lowther and others, they go very, they start flooding and you can't go there certain times of the year. But it's a nice town because you can walk everywhere, and it was a campus university as well, so quite like the idea of everybody living sort of near each other. So if you go to university in London or Leeds or Manchester or big cities, people live in like areas like where you or I live in, and then they'll commute, so there isn't like a student area, whereas in York everybody lived sort of near each other, so just walk to mates and stuff like that. It's good.
Brilliant. All right then, well listen, what fight do you want to see the most this year?
I think I do want to see AJ Fury. I just don't think it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
I think we're all going to answer the same. If I can't get that, I'd love to see Crawford against Spence. I'd love to see Lopez. I'd like to see Teofimo Lopez in a few good fights.
Yeah. All right.
I'd like to see him fights, but I think there's a lot of good fights in boxing to be made, and people are saying, "Oh, we should be happy with what we have," but there's no real excuses not to have the best fighting against the best. We're seeing in the UFC all the time, right?
All right then. Well, listen. Thanks for coming on, Rico. It's been a pleasure. I hope you're well.
People subscribe, like. People can subscribe, like, share. The buttons below. Subscribe, like, share, retweet, comment. Even if you don't like me or you don't like Ross, just comment, as long as you're not too nasty.
I don't. No one likes me, Rico. You should see some emails I get. Oh God.
Yeah, but anybody that sends you emails anonymously is just sad, right? At least they're watching. It's like Floyd Mayweather, I always tell you, right? They still watch the videos. You still get the views.
Don't Don't bother me like it used to do, but it's God, it's they deal with it all now. I tell you what, he told me yesterday he blocked 39 people, 39 in one day. And what they do, they just set another account up. It's funny actually because when they send some horrible text, most of the time they go on to withheld, so they don't even go out there. They think that we've deleted it, but we haven't, because if you're going to put certain words in it, you know what analytics, how it works, don't you?
Yeah.
It goes on to withheld, so but they think we've deleted it. Oh, you've removed my comment. No, I haven't removed it. It just goes on to withheld because the machine that they've got here, it's what Homeland Security use, isn't it? For example, other day, I clicked my mute button in my car for 2 seconds, and you might have heard a Biggie song come on, but for 2 seconds, and I clicked it off. And I was just testing analytics. Boom! When I sent that video out when I got home, it flashed up a flag, for copyright. Straight away. So you don't get paid for that video. And if you swear, you don't get paid. I don't get paid for any, do I me? There's either music or swearing in them. But I was just testing to see how good their stuff is. So if they can do that, Jesus, they can listen on any conversations on your phones, can't they? If they can do that, because it was just like that, wasn't it, for a fraction of a second. And it picked up on it straight away. So it's amazing the equipment they've got in it. YouTube.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But no, we don't block your comments. If you're going to put, okay, I'm going to slice you up or stuff like that, it zooms in on the actual, and then it'll zoom in on your account, the troll. Oh, they've just set that up recently and they've done that. And it puts it into withheld comments. So try and word it a little bit nicer if you want to get your point across. But there's always an answer to it, isn't there? Come see me Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 while 11, King's Boxing Club, Retford Road, Sheffield, S13. Come see me. Bring your gloves, 10 ounces, and we'll have a battle royale as long as you turn up. Turn up. That's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. All right? I don't need to say anything else, but you don't even need to email me. Just knock on Jim's door. But
don't have any nightmares.
Don't have any nightmares. Trolls, so don't have nightmares. But other than that, I hope you're all right, Rico. I'm going to go and have some soup now and then get ready for the netball on Sky.
Don't have any salmon and make sure you watch the netball.
Salmon makes me sick, Rico.
I know, that's what you say last time.
Every time I have it, I end up with a load of salmon. I'm not going to say where I got it from, but we can't move for salmon. And after about a week, I'm like, keep being sick. But I had to put it in the freezer. But no, I'm not a salmon fan. I'm a soup man with 2 crackers now. Because they go soggy, don't they? I can get them down. Yeah. But I hope you're all right. Give Jess my best. And I will speak to you probably tomorrow. All right, my friend. You take care.
Mate. Take care. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Cheers. Bye.
Well, that was my very close, dear friend, Rico from, I'm going to say London then, but he's from Finland, isn't he? And I think what he's done, he's got a bit of a great story there, hasn't he, Rico? He's studied in York. He come over here from another country. He's done his national service, and that what a fine example he is to his family. I think that's brilliant for a young lad like that to come over to England, to another country, and get the job that he's ended up with. I mean, wow. I'm really impressed. And I met Rico through Twitter. When I was on Twitter, he sent me a DM and we hit it off straight away. And a good boxing bloke. Very well respected in the boxing community by a lot of people. I think Dennis is still in touch with him from what I've heard. So that's good, isn't it? He's done a few favours for a few people behind the scenes. Basically wording things and sending stuff off for me. He's done a lot of stuff for me behind the scenes. He can word things a little bit better than I can, because I'm how I'd word it, spelling and that would be shocking. So I said, Rico, any chance of helping me with this? So he's a good bloke. So is Terry, and it's good to meet people like this. Is the plus side of social media. I've made a friend with Rico and Terry, and there's other people that I've made friends with in the boxing community. And obviously the downside is, you get people who want to say what they want to say, but it is what it is, isn't it? It's just social media, so we don't take things to heart because it's not real life. And young Frank Smith told me that at boxing. He said, it's not real life, you know, Porky. So I think that's about it. We'll get some soup now. Nice. So peace out. Keep on trucking, keep supporting boxing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. If you don't wanna, it's okay. But you take care. Have a great week, and we'll get these videos out in the next couple of days, probably Wednesday.
You like that one, didn't you? Right, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much for liking and subscribing. It means a lot to me, because we're on this journey together, aren't we? So anybody got any ideas for the channel, fire them over to me, porkycorner@mail.com. All right, shout out to Innovation Alloys and South Yorkshire Packaging. All right, don't forget to subscribe, keep on trucking.